Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, March 7th, and, doing the daily thing. Little update here. You can take a look at the numbers on the screen. 102,572 cases, 3,501 deaths, and 57,696 recovered. We'll just take a look at each country real quick, and then I want to go on to a bunch of stories here and talk about how things are kind of starting to ramp up in terms of the impact on people's lives. So you see here in China, they're reporting 99 new cases, 28 new deaths. South Korea, 448 new cases. Italy and Iran, again, jumping up huge every time I see it. They're tracking at 400, 500 new cases per day. Germany, 692 cases, but only 22 reported today. And you see Japan, 15 new cases. The US, 16. Norway with 9, you see there. Austria has 8. And other countries here are having like 1 or 2. But these are the countries obviously where it's problematic right now. South Korea, Iran, Italy, those are the hot spots. Maybe Germany and the US are next, who knows. Surprised that Spain really hasn't seen much of a jump in their numbers due to their proximity to Italy. Now, just for some context, at the complex that I live in, there's a hot tub here. Bumped into a female who lives here tonight. She actually is from China, and her parents are actually still there. So I was asking her where they're from. Are they near Wuhan? And she's saying, yes, they're from a city just outside Wuhan. So I was asking her, how's everything going? What's it like there? Are the numbers that we're seeing accurate? Like, are we getting accurate numbers from China in terms of like, maybe her interpretation based on what her parents have been telling her. So what she's telling me is their entire city is on lockdown. Her parents have been on lockdown. This has been going on for a couple weeks. But she says that all the larger major cities like Shanghai and everything like that, that it's pretty much business as usual. Everything's going on normally. No one there's having any issues. There's no quarantines there. So maybe we're getting some accurate data here. I mean, you would think that if it was a case where there were huge problems, that you would see lockdowns and quarantines in these larger cities as well. That's the thing, right? Authoritarian countries, and this will come into play with Iran versus Italy, for instance, or South Korea. Authoritarian countries can do whatever they want in order to kind of quell whatever it is. Here, it's corona. Other times it may be dissent. Other times it may be stamping out attempts to get human rights. But authoritarian regimes, they can do whatever they want. So if they want to bar your door shut, if they want to tell a whole city to lock down, and they want to put military forces surrounding the city, then guess what? Your government's communist. That's what you get. In some ways, obviously that can be good. If this really turns out that China has the answer, and it's what they've been doing, dragging people off, locking them up inside their houses, quarantines, as we said, everything making sure people don't go to work, military presence in cities to make sure people don't violate the quarantine and things like that. Hey, what can you say? Sometimes authoritarianism works, I guess. I don't know. I'm not even going to go there with it. I love my rights here in the US. It makes me wonder how like westernized nations or more advanced nations in terms of human rights would handle it when it comes to that. So again, Italy comes to mind, Germany, Spain, UK versus a country with some kind of regime authoritarianism, maybe like a Korea. But Iran, that's the one that definitely comes to mind in terms of like seeing how they're going to handle it, seeing if they're going to take the China route and lock everything down in order to stop the spread. So there's a couple stories I wanted to cover real quick for everybody. It says here, Hong Kong says 17 people tried to escape quarantine. And this is a CNN article. A number of people violated Hong Kong's compulsory quarantine policy and tried to escape the city, Sophia Chan, the Secretary for Food and Health, said on Friday. Chan said 17 people were trying to leave the city, but were stopped at the borders by immigration department staff. They were then sent to the government's designated quarantine facilities. She added 2 people were charged, and police submitted evidence of another 7 cases to the Department of Justice, while the remaining cases are under investigation. Under the current policy, people entering Hong Kong from mainland China are required to be quarantined at home and forbidden from leaving the city. Now, this is another thing. I'll just read the headline here. You can see the headline, you get it. Scotland versus France, women's rugby game off after player tests positive for corona. Another one, South by Southwest conference has been canceled over coronavirus concerns. Yet another one, California Stanford University cancels all in-person classes for the winter quarter. So for the whole quarter. So they said what they're going to try to do is move everything online as much as possible. I had also read that Washington in Seattle was doing something where they were canceling classes from March 5th to the 15th. And then I had also read that USC, Southern California, they were doing the same thing as Stanford, looking to cancel a lot of these in-person classes and move as much stuff online as possible. So one more headline, then we'll get the big doozy. So here, preppers have endured several years of mockery. Now the self-survival business is booming. And I talked about this many weeks ago. Hopefully everybody was doing some basic preparations. And I feel like most people that are on top of things, most of you out there watching this video, whatever platform it's on, YouTube, Bitchute, Daily Motion, I have the video up on all those platforms. But based on all the comments I get from you guys and girls, I know that you're doing what you need to do, that you're doing the basic stuff, water, canned goods, toilet paper, batteries, whatever little minor things you might need. This stuff is not lost on you guys. You guys know what's going on, and you probably all have been on top of this stuff for weeks or months now. And like the article gets at here, this term prepper, it's always seen as like those conspiracy theorists, kind of wackadoodle type individuals that are just wacky, way out living in the woods or stuff like that. And obviously nobody's saying we're preparing for the end of the world or anything, but being wise about stocking up on certain things, because all the evidence we're getting, recently Trump declared a federal state of emergency, setting aside, what was it, like $8.3 billion to fight coronavirus. I know here in California, they declared a state of emergency. A lot of other states have as well. Florida was one that I recall reading that had done it as well. So the feeling obviously is that it's going to hit, it's going to spread. For most people, you're going to be okay. And on that note, they did revise the mortality rate for it. They had been saying it was about 2% that people die that get it, and they revised that number up to 3.4%. Keep in mind, the flu is 0.01% in terms of the mortality rate. But again, this is affecting immunocompromised, older people, obviously, maybe younger people more so. Nobody's saying you have to go out and fight for that last roll of toilet paper, but again, everybody just make sure that you're prepared. Like I named off the things, have a little bit more supplies than you would normally have in terms of like the basic staples that you may need, things that can last you a while, rice, beans, canned goods, like I said, water. Take precaution if you can. I don't want to see anybody out there get into a situation like we have these idiots out here fighting over last rolls of toilet paper, punching each other out in supermarkets. I don't want to see that happen to anybody there. So hopefully everybody can keep cooler heads through all of this. Now, here's the thing. Here's the one I got for you. The last one. Check this out. There you see the headline. Let's let that sink in for everybody. Remember, they were saying that it came from the fish market or wherever it came from. It came from bat soup. It came from this and that. So China has made eating wild animals illegal after the coronavirus outbreak. But there's a loophole. All right, so I clicked on the article there that talked about the loopholes. And what it's saying is this isn't the first time they've tried something like this. It said in 2003, and I'm looking right up here, civets, mongoose-type creatures, were banned. After it was discovered, they likely transferred the SARS virus to humans. The selling of snakes was also briefly banned in Guangzhou after the SARS outbreak. Now, it further goes on to say, and this is the part where they're talking about the loopholes and kind of what these advocate groups are trying to push for here, in this paragraph here. It says, public health experts say the ban is an important first step, but are calling on Beijing to seize this crucial opportunity to close loopholes, such as the use of wild animals in traditional Chinese medicine, and begin to change cultural attitudes in China around consuming wildlife. There's the loopholes, everybody. They're trying to say, oh, it's conspiracy that you might believe it came from this or that. But again, whenever there's a situation like this that breaks out where you have animals involved in some way, that whenever there's a feeling that animals were involved or are involved in some way in the transmission of the disease or passing the disease on further, that there's going to be these individuals in these animal advocacy groups that are obviously going to take this as an opportunity to push their agenda. Now, I'm not saying that they're right or wrong in this case. I'm just saying that it's fishy to me, to use an animal analogy, that every time there's an outbreak or whatever, that they use it as an opportunity to try to push their agenda forward. Now, ultimately, they may be right. They may be wrong. If people feel like eating some bat wing soup is going to help them, I don't know, whatever you want to say. If they feel like eating the ground up powder of a rhino penis is going to make them last longer in bed, then so be it. I don't believe in that kind of stuff in those terms, obviously, eating ground up animal bones or using the claw, the talon of a chicken to help your climbing abilities, or, whatever ridiculous off the wall stuff that you can come up with. That's their thing. To me, that's their culture. They do what they got to do. I don't subscribe to that kind of stuff, but I mean, as ridiculous as maybe it sounds, I'm not going to entirely hate on them for it. But again, like I said, there's always advocacy groups that are pushing forward their agenda whenever they get the opportunity, is all I would say about that. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Those are the headlines. There'll be more ridiculous stuff to come. You see things going on. Like I said, they're talking about other sporting events here, playing those in front of no crowds, like the NBA, college basketball, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see where things are going. And they're talking about pushing the Japan Olympics back in the summer, so we'll see where everything goes. But thanks again, everybody, for watching the video. And like I said, just, do some basic preparation, basic things. If you're watching this video, if you already haven't, just make sure you don't get caught up in those situations where there's idiots out there fighting each other over dumb stuff, over bottled water and stuff like that. Just avoid those situations if you can. Stock up slowly and just be safe out there and be careful, everybody. All right, take care, everybody, and have a good weekend.